In Matthew's Gospel, the first chapter, starting in verse 18, we read this. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. After his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not wanting to make her a public example, was minded to put her away secretly. But while he thought about these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take to you Mary your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. And she will bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. So all this was done that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which is translated, God with us. Then Joseph, being aroused from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and took to him his wife, and did not know her till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus. The basic principle of following Jesus Christ is the fact that Jesus is God and was in human form at the same time. But unlike, say, the Greek and Roman myths where the gods would take a human form temporarily, Jesus came to us in human form as a baby and then grew into adulthood with all the temptations, challenges, and trials that we have to face ourselves as human beings. That growing up process requires parenting. And while Mary was Jesus' mother and God undeniably Jesus' father, Jesus also needed a dad on this earth. And Joseph, the carpenter from Nazareth, was just the man for the job. Yeah, raising God's son on earth. No pressure, right? What kind of man would it take? Well, first, Matthew tells us Joseph was a just man. He wasn't religious, he wasn't stiff-necked, he was just. He knew the law, but he loved Mary. If this engagement was going to fall apart because she was having somebody else's baby, he determined to go for mercy rather than sacrifice. He wasn't going to shame her in public and possibly see her stoned to death, kind of like a similar situation that cropped up about 30 years later. So Joseph's heart was open, and he was therefore able to see things that a strict religious person might not be open to, and that was a visit from an angel. Notice it happened while he was thinking about these things. He wasn't going to jump precipitously into action. Notice that the angel addressed Joseph as Joseph, son of David. Joseph's father's name was Jacob, so whatever Gabriel was about to tell him had something to do with him being from the house of David. That would have got his attention and set him up to hear that the baby Mary was carrying was God's. And so he did what very few other men in a similar situation would have done. He listened to the angel and he married Mary. Joseph was also obedient to governing authorities, which is something else that God would have been looking for. When everyone was ordered to return to their tribal villages for the census, Joseph walked with very pregnant Mary on a donkey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. That's a good 150 kilometers, nearly 100 miles. As a husband and father, he had authority. When Gabriel told him to pack up the wife and kid and go to Egypt, he did. And there was no back chat from Mary when he said, we got to go to Egypt now. To be dad to the Son of God required humility, too. Notice that he and Mary weren't altogether sure what to make of all the accolades they heard from the Magi and the shepherds in the stable and from Simeon and Anna in the temple. Joseph evidently knew how to train up a child in the way he should go, too. I can imagine when Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem talking with the scholars in the temple, Joseph tore a strip off him on the way home. What do you mean wandering away like that? Don't you know what you did to your mother? Whatever Joseph said, it had the desired effect, because Luke tells us in his gospel that Jesus returned with them to Nazareth and was subject to them. He was an obedient kid. It is written, honor your father and mother, that it will be well for you in the land I shall give you. And God gave Jesus a whole lot of land, the entire world. So Jesus had to honor his mom and dad. You might wonder if being crucified was a sign of things being well, but Jesus does save the world over and over again, so I'd say that's how it worked out. One more thing. It's unheard of for anyone to be in favor with God and men. But Luke tells us at the end of chapter 2, that's exactly what happened. I credit good parenting. Nice job, Joseph. Nice job.